Welcome everyone to Sonoma County Career Fest. We have several days full of interviews, panels, and career readiness workshops designed to help you explore careers, understand the opportunities for you, and set you up for success after high school. Today, we are sitting with Nicole Smartt. She's the owner of Star Staffing and the author of the book From Receptionist to Boss, Real Life Advice for Getting Ahead at Work. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. Excited to be here and share my story.
Great. Now, first, we've talked previously, and I think you have a very interesting story. So what I'm hoping to do first is just have you spend a little bit of time giving us a brief summary of how you actually in your life went from receptionist to boss.
Absolutely. Well, it starts right out of high school, which I think is perfect for the group here. Basically, in high school, junior and senior year, I was working part-time in retail. So when I graduated high school, I really wanted to get into an office job, largely not to work on weekends, which I think is what a lot of people leave retail for. And I saw a job posting for a receptionist job at a staffing firm. I did not have all of the job requirements needed for the job, but I applied anyways. And surprisingly, I got the interview and I ended up getting hired. And that's really how my career started. That's like a pivotal moment in my career. And so in the receptionist role, I was a sponge. I just started learning everything that I could about the industry, about my role, about my manager's role, like how I could help her become more impactful. And I took on a lot more duties. And so when that next career projection role opened up, I was first in line for it. So I became a recruiter, and then I became a specialist, and then I became a manager. And then the company ended up selling. It was acquired by a much larger national firm. And so when they bought the company that I worked for, I instantly became a sales representative. And I stayed on for 2 years. And at that time now, I've been in the working world for a good few years, like 6 years. And I started to realize, and really like come into my own, I started to realize this new company doesn't really align with my values anymore. And so I ended up resigning to start my own firm where my values would be aligned and where I could take my vision and make it come a reality of what I saw for this fast-growing staffing firm. And that really cared about people, right? Because business and life, it's all about people. And so I resigned. And at that time, through a connection that I had met, they introduced me to the owners of Star Staffing. And I knew that the meeting that they wanted, the meeting that they set for me was for me to be a sales rep because I was a fierce competitor and they wanted to bring me on board. But I took the meeting anyways. And at that meeting, they sure enough was like, come on board, we have a sales role. And I just laid it out. I was extremely candid with them. And I said, look, here's my vision for a fast-growing organization that puts people first. And this is what I want to achieve. And this is the role that I want. And whether it's here at Star or it's not, I'm going to make it happen. And I thought after that meeting, I wasn't going to get a phone call and it was going to stop. I mean, who's going to make this? You know, I was like right before turning 25. You know, who's going to take this no degree, younger individual that's still new in her profession, like that serious, to make them an owner of an established company? And they never laughed at me. And I got a phone call back. And it turns out that one of the owners of the company was exiting the business, and her specialty and skill set was exactly mine. And so we talked, and long story short, I became an owner, and currently I'm president of Star Staffing and helped the company go from 3 offices to 7 locations and over 35 million in sales. And so I know it sounds like kind of a fast trajectory, but there were so many bumps and roadblocks along that way, and it's a much longer story than that.
Yeah, a lot of people think that the road to success is kind of the straight line upward, when really it's like this, and you just kind of hope that there's a trend that goes upward.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on one thing. You had mentioned that you don't have a college degree, but yet they still took a chance on you. Can you talk a little bit more about that and that kind of road that you took to success?
Absolutely. It was a hard one because at the time, so I graduated in 2003, so I'm dating myself now. And back then,
In 2001, so.
okay, well, thank you. Back then, I think things have changed now more so, but back then you had to have a degree. Like every single job requisite was a degree. And for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I don't want to say that I was lost or anything. I was, a scholar athlete. I worked young. I didn't know where I wanted to go after high school or what I wanted to do. And then I also didn't have the financial means. So college or a 4-year school was just not an option for me. So I knew at that moment that the only way to overcome this really barrier to success, in my opinion, of not having a degree was just to outwork and outperform, so that I would gain enough knowledge that then my experience would be more than that degree. And again, that was a long road to get there, a lot of positions, a lot of hard work. But I would say there was kind of like these 6 defining skills that really helped me continue to climb the ladder and achieve success and really get to that position where you always hope that eventually people are going to look past that degree. And lucky for me, I got in at a ground level at a receptionist position, and I was able to work. Again, it was a smaller company. I had access to my manager. I was, able to learn and grow from her. But really, the 6 defining things that I want to go over today, which I think are really crucial, is number 1 is just curiosity, right? Like you have to be open minded. You have to ask a lot of questions. You have to be intrigued by kind of like, how can I help the company be smarter, better, faster, right? Like having that mindset of curiosity and always questioning is key. Now, it's got to be smart questions because there's Google now. So a lot of things you can find out online. But for the things that you don't know, it's so important to ask and just have a curious mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is really communication. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but basically business and life, it's all about people. So you really have to know how to communicate with them, but also deliver a message that's well received. And I think that's a really important skill set that sometimes we can always improve on.
Mm-hmm.
Initiative, right? Being a self-starter, asking for more, taking on more. The key is really starting to do the next job that you want. So the title will eventually follow because you're already doing those. So being able to kind of be the self-starter to say, hey, I'm going to take this on, or hey, manager, look, we were in a meeting the other day and I heard you say this. Here's just an outline I put together. What do you think about that? Mm-hmm. Right? That's huge. It shows initiative. It shows that you're capable of more. So why wouldn't the next job title follow?
It seems like the initiative one is something that really provided that drive that you needed in order to get to where you are today.
It did. I saw gaps along the way. So I was able to kind of identify, this is a spot that they need to fill and they might not have a budget for it. So I'm going to help do that. And that way I'm going to earn that seat. And so again, I just had to keep plugging away and taking on more and more, even though maybe the pay and the job title didn't follow right away. I just kept doing it because I knew that my results would earn that title eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Learning, which kind of goes into what we were just talking about, is be a sponge. Learn as much as you can. Whatever means is the best for you. Now there's podcasts and audiobooks that you can listen to while you're driving. Articles, blogs, whatever it is, continuous development. I mean, I make daily deposits into my little bank account for learning every single day, and it's crucial. I'll never stop learning, and I'll never stop being curious, and that's how I'm able to continue to evolve, but also help guide STAR to continue to evolve as well. We always want to be a step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So learning is absolutely critical. So don't think after high school, there's no more learning. It stops there after college. It's just, I think it gets like to a whole different level.
Mm-hmm.
And then networking. Number 5 would be networking. Connections are critical. I think they say your network is your net worth. And I absolutely believe that. You and I met through networking. I have met so many connections that have opened up doors for me and vice versa. And without those connections, I 100% would not be where I am today. Back when I first started, I actually was attending 4, you probably know this, like 4 events in a week. It was just nonstop. And sometimes it was like 2 events in an evening. I just really invested in getting to know community leaders, building a brand for myself, but also I met a ton of friends along the way and just great people. So I think having that network is so critical. And now it's online, which makes it a little bit easier, but then also a double-edged sword of harder because it's in person. Yeah, exactly. So making that effort, but you and I met and, and then having this opportunity to speak and share my story. So, and also
I also got where I am today was because of networking. The interesting thing is I started in retail. I worked 12 years in retail. And then right out of retail, I wanted to jump into something else. And I didn't have any previous job experience in anything else. And it was networking that helped me get into the particular industry that I'm in, that then led me to the CTE Foundation where I'm at right now. And it really is, networking is one of those almost underappreciated things to a lot of people. They don't really realize how important it could be, but sometimes it really is who you know that opens up the opportunities and the doors for you in life.
Absolutely. I, without a doubt, can say that networking and the connections is a huge, huge part of where I am today and where I continue to go in my career. And that, connection I said of who introduced me to the owners of Star Staffing was through a connection I met on a board that I joined the board from a networking event. And it all is just a domino effect. And so without having met her, my life could be very different right now. And so it's just, there's a great quote by Charles Tremendous Jones that I shared in a previous conversation with you. And it says, the only difference of where you are today and where you'll be in the future is by the people you meet and the books you read. And it's kind of how I live my life, is people are everything, and continuing to learn and evolve, and great things happen. And the last thing is just time management, right? You can work super hard, but if you're not managing your time and working smartly and effectively, you're not going to have that forward momentum. So it's really making sure, is what I'm working on today the best use of my time? And what I do is the night before, every day the night before, is I create a little list of all the things that I need to get done the next day, and then I prioritize it of importance. So the top 2 things I always get done the next day. I will not go to bed unless they're done, unless something, major happens or prevents me. But typically those 2 things always get done, and it just keeps moving because, as you know, things come up during the day. And once you're able to get that mindset of being able to accomplish those top tasks, you're just going to keep moving forward. Nothing's going to prevent you. So time management is definitely critical. But those 6 are really obviously hard work, but those 6 are really what led me.
Wow, I really appreciate that. My next question to you was going to be, what are some of those key, some people call them soft skills, some people call them transferable skills, the kind of skills that would take you through any industry, through any job, but are the key skills that will help lead to success in that job. That was my question, and you kind of wrapped it in, and I really appreciate that. So that's so perfect. I think everything you said totally resonates with me. The time management and is always been a challenge for me, but I do have on my computer and on my phone, I have a tasks list that I'm constantly adding to and checking things off. So to me, that is one of those critical things that I'm still working on, but I 100% agree. You kind of need to just lay out what needs to get done and make sure that they get done in the right order.
And doesn't it feel good to check things off? I just love it. Crossing out, I love it. And
my app makes a little chime sound every time I check something off, and I have gotten, it's that Pavlov's bell. I've just gotten to love that little chime because it just feels so good.
I will share on the skill set. One thing that I didn't mention is really a lot of times we often look at skills on the vertical front. So you think of like the verticals of like industries, like accounting skills and human resources and marketing. But what we really should be looking at is kind of those horizontal skills that are universal and transferable, like through industries. And so those would be like writing and management and audio composition, things that can continue to evolve you and really boost your career. And so that's one thing that I really wanted to mention is really focusing on those transferable skills. I think will be really helpful. And then the other thing on skills, just because things have changed since I graduated high school, is I would say with technology and automation, I think it's really important to look at where you want to go and make sure that those skills that are going to be taken away by technology and automation, you don't really focus on too much, and you focus on the skills that aren't going to be, which are really the human side of things, right? Like empathy. You can't teach a robot how to feel certain things or how to read somebody with their emotions because they haven't lived through life, right? So I would also focus on that, especially figuring out a career path.
Great. The last question that I really want to end with is sort of a piece of advice that we can give to the students that are watching this, because a lot of them right now are unsure about what they might want to do, or maybe they have an idea, but they are not sure about how to get there. And so my question to you is, what do you know now that you wish you knew back at the beginning of your career, whether in high school or maybe a little bit after high school? What's something that you would, maybe a piece of advice that you can give to the students that are in that same position now?
Yeah, great question. I would say don't let people's perception of you hold you back. So I think there's going to be there are a lot of people in life that'll tell you no, that you're not capable of something, or just have a negative connotation. And I think it's really important that you don't listen to those naysayers, and you kind of use that fuel to prove them wrong. And so my biggest thing is I had a lot of self-doubt early on because I didn't have that degree, which was so important. And I would let people saying things to me about that get in my head, and it would just like kind of deter me and bring me down. And so that would be my advice is, don't let people's perception of you hold you back. The only person that knows what you're capable of is yourself, and you're the best investment. And so just, use any negativity to fuel you, to prove people wrong, and you know what you're capable of.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. We really appreciate your time. And for any of the students who just kind of want to really learn the lessons that Nicole Smartt learned along the way, once again, her book is From Receptionist to Boss, Real Life Advice for Getting Ahead at Work. So, Nicole, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Thank you.